my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it's time to nerd out about Batman. I finally got through Batman Knightfall Volume 1. It's been sitting on my bookshelf. I've had it for like the last year, and I'm sure my best friend is wondering if she is ever getting this back. But I read it. I finally got through it, and now I am here to talk about it. Batman Knightfall is a 3-volume series. I don't know how many issues that is, but it's 3 volumes like this thick. You could do some damage with this thing if you hit somebody with it. So basically, Batman Knightfall is one of the most iconic arcs to come out of the 1990s. It is this huge, massive undertaking that introduced a new villain. His name is Bane. He was born in Santa Prisca and basically rose through the ranks in Santa Prisca to kind of take the prison over. He has decided to set his sights on Gotham, and he wants to break the Batman. He has this whole plan where he uses it to hell breaks loose, and he takes Bruce to the mental and physical lowest he can before he absolutely destroys him as Batman. First off, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a good setup for what's gonna be going on. I already know the arc of the story because it's Batman, and if you've read anything about Batman, you kind of learn. But it was really, really cool to kind of go and get the backstory. Volume 3 of Batman Rebirth, Volume 3, I Am Bane, makes so much more sense when you've actually sat and read Bane's backstory. It was very interesting to read because I think this is the lowest I've ever seen Bruce. He starts out at a low and then goes lower. There's a breakout at Arkham because there's always a breakout at Arkham. Arkham has a revolving door. The nature of comics is nobody can stay in there for long. There would be no bad guys for Batman to fight, and then there would be no comics, so I put up with the Joker because he gives me comics. As far as the plot, it was a really good, solid plot. I think about halfway through is when Bruce is taken out of commission. This is the plot line where you have Jean-Paul Valley, who is also Azrael. He becomes Batman, and you've got poor Tim trying to deal with Azrael as Batman. And poor Tim, some of his hair in some of this, it just looks like he stuck his finger in a light socket. One of the interesting things that I did notice about the art is this isn't an arc where you've got all of the same artists doing the illustration for the comic. It's all written by Chuck Dixon, but you've got different people coming into pencil and ink and color. It still has a really cohesive style, though. I think I noted this if you've seen my Catwoman review for volumes 1 and 3. It's got a very cohesive style, even though they are switching up the artists. I will say the 90s art style is not necessarily my favorite art style. It's a lot of very two-dimensional and very dark because of the way that the comics were printed. Instead of having graduated shadows, you'll just have these giant panels of black. And when you're reading Batman, that's a lot of black. So I really enjoy a lot of the more of the 2000s art style and the 2010s, the more recent last 2 decades art style, because you've got more dimension to it. It's still quality art and really good, but it's not my favorite. But back to the original point it was really interesting to see how cohesive things are, because that's not something we've been seeing in Batman Rebirth. The stuff in the early 2000s and the mid to late, the mid 90s to the early 2000s, they were making it's obvious that they were making an effort to make things look the same, even though they were using different people. This was good, though, because it does show you how freaking stubborn Bruce is, but just how stubborn he is, but why he's stubborn. A lot of people misinterpret Bruce as being he likes beating up bad guys, but this one really focused on the fact that all of this stuff is happening, and he's at this point where he is physically not able to keep up with what's happening, but he's still trying. He knows people are going to get hurt if he doesn't stop what's happening from happening. So I really like that it shows you that dynamic of Bruce. You think that's something that gets pushed aside and forgotten a lot by fans, because they just see Bruce as someone who likes to strike fear in the hearts of criminals, and that's not what he's about, and that's not what his purpose is. His purpose is to protect the people of Gotham. Bane as an antagonist, he is thoroughly screwed up. He has his group of cronies that are kind of they each have their own little gimmick, but Bane is just so mentally not there and messed up by what's happened, and you understand how he can be so screwed up. So that's something that's really good. They did a really good job building Bane's backstory for him to be a bad guy, that you're okay, I understand why he's this way. I can see that. I can see why he's doing what he's doing, and why his motivations for for going after Batman don't necessarily make sense to a sane person, but you can see how they make sense to someone who grew up and was part of the environment that he was part of. There was not a lot of Selina in here. There was a little bit, but not a lot. I much prefer her more recent interactions with Bane because she puts the hurt on him for hurting Bruce. Which you should do when people hurt Bruce. It got a little overwhelming at times. Like, you were feeling Bruce's overwhelm. There are so many Batman bad guys that are making appearances in here. You have Mr. Zsasz, you have the Scarecrow, you have the Joker, you have the Riddler showing up in here. You have like smaller bad guys like Amygdala that you kind of have forgotten even exist. They're showing up because, like, I mean, it was a massive breakout, guys. Mass breakout. Like, the Joker and Scarecrow team up and you're just sitting there going, well, this is a horrible idea. Gotham is screwed. Bane is so clever and he knows exactly how to get to Bruce, and you can see that. And you can see his process of thinking, and like, if Bruce wasn't Bruce, he'd be dead. He's playing catch up the entire time, and usually Bruce is like 2 steps ahead of everybody. I believe I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Again, not my favorite Batman storyline, but it is a really solid storyline. It is a really interesting like plot, and you do get to see Batman brought to like just stretch to his endurance. So if you like watching Batman thrown through the ringer, then this is definitely the volume for you. I will definitely be getting into volumes 2 and 3 at some point because this was a very good storyline and I really did enjoy it. You guys know the drill. If you liked this video or thought it was helpful at all, please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I would love to see your lovely face here on a regular basis. I post bookish chats every Saturday, and sometimes I post bonus videos throughout the week. Just depends on what my time looks like and if I have time to edit more than one video in a week. If you are interested in more of my bookish content, you can also check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I am at the word nerd on both of those platforms, and don't forget, in nerd, that is a 3 instead of the E. I will have it down below along with a link to my blog where you should go check it out. That's where I post all of my monthly wrap-ups and I talk about my own writing, or at least I talk about the struggle of writing and how much my current work in progress is driving me up a wall. Because, you know, the writing experience just isn't complete if you don't spend 20 minutes a day wishing you could set your novel on fire. That is it for now. I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!